boy, did he give them a spark, J-Mac.
He did, and it starts with the energy. You see the crowd there, and it filtered all throughout this team.
Meanwhile, on the defensive side, the Giants had a good game. I think it helped them, too. How about Sexy Dexy here?
Woo. How about this? The only thing about this play that I don't like, Hannah, is that he couldn't finish the job and take it all the way back to the house.
I know.
He's going right for the oxygen tank after this interception.
Marcus loves it.
What a
him
player.
and big man balling, though.
Oh, no
right?
doubt. He might get the whole segment this week.
Yeah. Tipped and picked off there, Justin Herbert. And here's Dart looking for Malik Neighbors, and this is just horrible news as Adam Schefter reports it's a torn ACL for Neighbors. His season is over, J-Mac.
Absolutely. He's such a tremendous weapon for his quarterback. Not having him out there changes everything for this offense. It usually dictates defense. They won't have that anymore.
And then a mistake here. Herbert, he's playing without his left tackle, Joe Alt, at this point.
Yeah.
Looking for Ladd McConkey. He's picked off by Drew Phillips.
Yeah, out of source there, his first multi-interception game since October of 2023 for Justin Herbert. Safe to say he was under siege for much of this game.
Dart, shovel pass, score. Giants win 21-18. Here he is.
Have a special relationship. You know, he's the guy that believed in me from day one. And you know, I think it does say a lot, you know, that he made the decision and had the confidence in me, and you know, even just giving me the ball in those situations on that third down to make a play. So, you know, I think that I know that when you have a coach who you know has your back, you know, I'm gonna go out there and do everything that I can for him to win.
Obviously talking about Brian Daboll and that game plan, because they really put Dart in a position to succeed. After using pre-snap motion more than half the time in Russell Wilson's starts, it was all the way down to just 24% yesterday. And the Giants used less max protection, more screen passes with Dart in the lineup. Dan, Jeff, how much different was that tape for the Giants with Dart under center this week?
Yeah, very different. A lot of the offensive creativity that we had kind of become accustomed to with Brian Daboll presented itself. I think with Jackson Dart, a couple things. The game never looked too fast for him, never looked too overwhelmed. The athleticism was a big deal. This is an offense that struggled big time in the red zone. This is what I call that PRO, the pass run option, run and stick at the bottom of the screen. Easy completion for the quarterback, while also adding in that quarterback ISO opposite, and you're just reading to the left side. If that guy matches Malik Neighbors, it's one-on-one essentially with the back and the linebacker. Incredible block by Scattaboo. Yep. And then there's Jackson Dart splitting those safeties. Yeah. The creativity was back. The no huddle was part of their offense. They played a little bit more spread out. The different formations, the RPO efficiency. I just think this was the scratching of the surface for their offense. A great start versus incredible defense. The Neighbors injury matters, no doubt, but you got to love at least game one out of Jackson Dart in this Giants offense.
I think the thing that flashed the most, Stan, you mentioned this, the athleticism. You saw one of the things I like the best about Jackson Dart in college, which is that when he scrambles, he's not bailing and then trying to turn the corner. He's running through the teeth of the defense, and that was honestly quite useful against a defense like LA that, in terms of playing a lot of quarters coverage, does leave voids in the middle of the field for an opportunistic quarterback to run through. That said, I think he's going to have to get a feel for the limitations of his athleticism in the NFL, not just in terms of avoiding contact on scrambles, but some of the sacks he took, you could tell he thought, oh, I can make a defender miss. I'm that dude, and the NFL is different. So I think that's a lesson he'll learn. But yeah, to me, that's just the number one thing that jumped out is he's an extremely athletic dual threat quarterback, and it's not surprising Brian Daboll lead into that.
Yeah, MK, the sack stuff is probably the biggest thing this week is watching it and going, okay, love your decision here. Love the thought to go become a runner here. It was very Josh Allen-like, and I know people have made that comp,
right.
But when he saw those seams part, it was like, yo, go take off. I would be way more encouraged and hopeful if the Neighbors injury didn't happen and hopefully Malik comes back healthy next year. But I do think just week one, you're like, hey, the at least the special athleticism and the decision-making was something to hang your hat on.
I mean, Brian Daboll had like little hearts for eyes. Like every time, find somebody that looks at you the way he looks at Jackson Dart, which is kind of the way that Harbaugh has always been with Justin Herbert. That was not a great game for the Chargers in a lot of respects. What are your concerns after they had won 3 in a row? What you saw yesterday?
When you lose your left tackle and Joe Alt, and you're already losing your right tackle and Rashawn Slater, and Mekhi Becton doesn't play because of concussion, the concerns are keeping Justin Herbert up right now. He's hit 26 times in the last 2 games. I think on top of that, they've dropped back more than 40 times in the last 2 games. So this is an offense that, yes, when they're rolling and Justin Herbert is making the incredible throws, we love to watch it and we celebrate it. But when you start to break it down for Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, they got to get back to the run game, which Omari and Hampton, 2 big runs in that game yesterday, was nice to see. They're going to have to rely on that more, especially with how banged up they are on the offensive line.
Just looked very uncharacteristic for a team that had been as dominant really from the start of games in the first 3 weeks as any in the NFL. I mentioned earlier that Justin Herbert had multiple interceptions for the first time since the game in 2023. You also saw at the bottom of your screen that Giants defensive front got after it with a variety of different players as well. They have a great front seven to the Giants, but a 68% pass rush win rate, which is the best for any Giants game since ESPN began tracking that back in 2017. So that Chargers offensive line injury attrition has really started to matter. And Shefty already said earlier, Joe Alt's got maybe a high ankle sprain. He thought he could have come back into the game, but if there's any doubt that he might not be available this upcoming week, potentially being down 3 starters, the Chiefs look a little bit more like the Chiefs yesterday. All of a sudden, that big lead in the AFC West just feels a little bit smaller this afternoon.
Right, you almost think back to the schedule and being able to play 3 division games and win all of them hopefully gave them a little bit of cushion. All right, coming.
Everybody saw it. It was the hit heard around the world. Maris Liafu from the Dallas Cowboys. First of all, I don't know what Matthew Golden was thinking. He spent for nothing, turned his back to the defense, and he met that pressure. Because this is what you call pressure. That is the legit definition of bust that up. Liafu coming straight down. First of all, who the hell is supposed to be blocking the man? That's number one. So Golden got a gripe and he got a right to be mad. But this is the embodiment of bust that ish up.
I knew you loved that one. Kenneth Gainwell, Steelers running back, lived up to his name on Sunday in London. 99 yards, 68% success rate. I thought he looked extremely decisive and sharp on those under-center outside zone runs. Steelers have not been able to run the ball well this year, but I think they've landed on something with Gainwell and those 6 offensive line looks. Something to keep an eye on, Pittsburgh. It helps their offense out a great deal.
Thank you for stealing my point on the Steelers, but shout out to James Gladstone and Liam Cohen and Anthony Campanelli in Jacksonville. Not only because they're winning, but this is no fluff football team anymore. This is a violent football team. This is a physical football team in Jacksonville. Offensively, they punch you in the face. They can run the football. And defensively, this defensive coordinator, Campanelli, he's got these dudes running to the ball, hitting, taking the ball away. This is a fun unit to watch on tape right now. It feels like a very different football team in Jacksonville just from a physicality standpoint.
Things almost got violent after the game, too, with Cohen and
they
Robert.
did. They're not playing around down there no more, Hannah.
Practice what you preach. Practice what you preach.
Yeah, no kidding. They host Kansas City a week from tonight. That is going to be a really, really interesting game. All right, more of Week 4 action. And this one was, too, the Colts and the Rams. Again, the Colts came into this undefeated. They're down 13-10. And Daniel Jones finding A.D. Mitchell, which was going to be just an amazing play until he lets go of the ball before crossing the plane. That is a touchback. What a mistake. The Rams take possession. Oh, this is just hard to watch if you're a Colts fan. All right, just over 3 minutes left in the fourth with the Rams down 7. We pick it up at a 4th and 2, and it's Matthew Stafford finding Puka Nacua for the touchdown. The Rams tie it at 20. And then there's this, the first play of their next drive, Stafford to Tutu Atwell. It is an 88-yard touchdown to take the lead, the longest touchdown. Look at McVay. The longest touchdown of Matthew Stafford's career. He's going to run out of gas running all the way down the field there as the Rams win 27-20. That go-ahead touchdown pass with just 1:33 left marked his 14th career passing touchdown inside the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime, which means that Stafford ties Tom Brady for the most in NFL history. Get this. It was his 50th career game-winning drive in the fourth quarter or overtime. Absolutely stunning. He's your guy, Dan. How did he get it done?
I will tell the NFL, do not play this offense in traditional zone coverage. They will gut you. Matthew against zone coverage yesterday, the way that he was moving defenders with his eyes to open up people was absolutely spectacular. And with the reality, I think Sean McVay got to the point in the game yesterday where, like, hey, this Colts defense, one, can't get to us, and two, can't cover us. And it was just a throw fest, no matter if it was Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. And I think that tape offensively, if you're a defense in the NFC that doesn't play some form of man and or match man coverage, you want to play a traditional zone defense, you can't against the Rams. He's too good. Their protections are too strong. Their route concepts are too diverse, and he will move your defenders too much. That was artwork when it comes to moving people with your eyes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just want to talk about Puka Nacua. I mean, we're only 4 weeks into the season. He's the best offensive player in football, in my mind. And I want to emphasize player because he does so much for this offense. Yesterday, you really saw his emergence as a deep threat. I thought Sean McVay did a terrific job of moving around to hunt matchups. Really, Xavier Howard, let's be honest. And Matthew Stafford showed great faith in him, but that faith has been earned by the leap he has taken in terms of his ability to track the football, separate late hands, tremendous. Still unbelievable, maybe one of the best run after the catch receivers in the NFL. You saw that on the screen. And then the blocking. I mean, the Rams have the most efficient rushing attack in football, and Nacua is a big part of the reason why he gets his hands dirty in a way that very few receivers, frankly, do in the NFL. He's just so unbelievable all around, Dan, and I think this year he was already incredible. He's taken yet another leap.
Yeah, his name has to be in the MVP conversation. If we're going about the MVP in the proper way, like value to your football team, to your point, Mina, there's no one that really provides as much. There's not a single route that he does not run. There's not a single thing that he can't do with the ball in his hands. He blocks nickels. He blocks corners. He blocks linebackers. They hand him the football off. I mean, I said a couple weeks ago he's the best receiver in the league that no one calls the best receiver in the league. I think now people are starting to sit there and go, he legit might be the best wide receiver in the NFL. He certainly belongs in the MVP conversation.
And on top of that, just the great personality, right, that he shows. I mean, he's so fantastic for that team. We're going to see them on Thursday night. It's a really quick week for them against the Niners, guys. So I want to get some injury news, which is unbelievable. Could there be more for the Niners? But, what did you like about what you saw from the Steelers offense yesterday?
I felt watching the Steelers tape that it was the Kansas City Chiefs like 6 offensive linemen and Darnell Washington. So more often than not, that 6th offensive lineman was Spencer Anderson, who's 300-plus pounds. Washington's lifted at 265. But you got 6 guys over 300 and another tight end pushing 265, 270. They just ran outside zone at Minnesota, got underneath the center, ran inside zone or outside zone and duo, and double-teamed their run game. 17 snaps yesterday. The Steelers put a 6th offensive lineman on the field and put the quarterback underneath the center. That is 2025 football in the NFL. I absolutely loved it. It makes me think very differently about this Steelers offense moving forward.
All right, let's go to Jacksonville, where we pick it up in the 4th quarter as Brock Purdy, back from injury, touchdown pass, 1 possession game here, all right? And then ensuing possession. What were you saying, Field?
Nice run after catch right there.
Yeah, so they have a chance to make it an 18-point game, but Cam Little misses a 47-yard field goal. So that opens the door for the Niners to complete the comeback. Next possession, Purdy is sacked and he fumbles, and the Jags hang on for the win. They go to 3-1 under Liam Cohen. Mina, how'd they get it done?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Devin Lloyd, who was unbelievable in this game, picking Purdy twice. But I'm going to go to 6 offensive linemen with Dan, to the 12 personnel run game with Jacksonville, which has been really good this year. And it's a big part of why ETN is having this breakout season under Liam Cohen. What I watched, they do a bunch of different things, by the way, out of 12. They run outside zone, power, duo, split flow. But the thing that just jumps out is everybody's blocking their butts off. A lot of these offensive linemen were in the system last year, but they're just blocking so much better. Fundamentally sound. Brenton Strange also has been exceptional for them, the tight end. Just the run blocking in Jacksonville has really improved this season. It's a big part of why they won this game.
Yeah, again, we're going to see them Monday night, a week from tonight, against the Chiefs. All right, how about the Eagles? They go to 4-0. They go down to Tampa. They get a win against the Bucs, a team they'd had trouble with. It was a quiet day for A.J. Brown. 2 catches, 7 yards. And he had something to say about it. This is what he posted, and I quote, "If you're not welcome, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene. Shrug your shoulder and be on your way." Close quote. Listen, this isn't This is pretty typical of him. You know, reading a book on the sidelines last year. Is this a big deal or not, J-Mac?
I think we're all jumping to conclusions. We don't know what AJ's talking about. A lot of times I go home during football season and I have suggestions, things I want to say. My wife tells me to shut up. I shrug my shoulders and I just go on my way. We have no idea what's going on. But listen, when it comes to the football side of things, for A.J. Brown, you want him to be a part of the offense. He wants to contribute and wants to feel like he's a part of it. I expect next week they're going to get him maybe an end around, a quick screen to the outside early in the game to make him feel like he's a part of it. But at the same time, you're undefeated, my guy. Just be quiet and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, man, he does only have 14 catches this season. Somehow they just keep finding a way to win, don't they? A team that doesn't, and that is Cam Ward and the Titans, dropping to 0-4 on the season. First overall pick. Very, very blunt assessment of how things are going. Take a listen.
I mean, we keeping the bulk right now. So we 0-4. We have this point. We got nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our games, and we've yet to do anything. So we have to lock in, especially myself on the offensive line, from the defensive line, from the special teams to three faces. We have to play together. We have not played together this year yet, and that's just something that we want to preach about it every day. Every day we got to do better, and we're doing that. But it has to show up on Sundays. It hasn't showed up yet, but it got to show up next week.
Well, there are those, Field, who saw this as kind of an indictment of his head coach, Brian Callahan. How do you see these comments?
Well, I think he's got a very good eye for self-scouting, right? Because how he described the Titans is an appropriate way of doing so. A little bit of a pivot here for me, though. I think it's obvious the Titans have a ton of roster holes right now. They can't protect Cam Ward. He is also holding on to the football too long. I'll say this, though. Love the intangibles that I've seen from Cam Ward through the first 4 games this season. He has said all the right things. He's had his teammates back when he has needed to have his teammates back. He has also held people accountable when they need to be held accountable. This is not going to be a year with a lot of wins for the Titans, but getting Cam Ward right, which the early return suggests they did, to me is the most important thing we'll find out this season.
But as a quarterback to say that, Dan, what do you think?
He's spot on. I just hope the situation doesn't ruin the young man, because he's going to be awesome. His tape is awesome. His intangibles are awesome. And I would say this, no one likes fake. He don't like fake, and he don't like fake people, because that was just real. I mean, when he's standing there going, none of us are good enough, and all we do is continue to say, well, we got to get better and do better, but we're not doing better. And so, that's the reality of teams that are struggling is you get we got to try to get better every day and improve, but then you go out and lay eggs on game day. And so I just hope that this moment or this situation doesn't ruin him and doesn't jade him to losing and make him numb to it, because it can to young players who struggle in the NFL team success-wise. And he's right. This team is struggling big time.
And I think when he says something like that, that's a challenge to the organization of what's going on. When your quarterback, who's just a rookie, is that outspoken about everything that he's seen in the building so far, he's letting it be known the way we are going about things, what's going on right now, it is not what it needs to be, and something needs to change.
And now they go out west for back-to-back meetings. They're at the Cardinals and they are at the Raiders. All right, coming up, the Ravens. Oh, my goodness.
I'm very disappointed just overall how we performed. I even told Jordan to the side, thank you for having our back today.
That game was probably a great game for the NFL as far as a showcase for the game and competition because you had outstanding quarterback play, you had some very talented people out there playing. You certainly had one of the most expensive players in the history of the NFL out there playing. And so I guess everybody was going to take a look tonight and decide, is he worth all that? It's very simple. Right. Dak was indispensable in my mind. Right. And so, yes. And Michael wasn't.
I don't know. That was a pretty big sack there at the end. Ryan Clark joining us as we inch closer to Monday Night Countdown at the top of the hour. Obviously, no CeeDee Lamb. It's hard to argue with the fact that Dak was indispensable. What did you think about that Cowboys offense?
Listen, I thought Dak played one of the best games I've seen him play, and it wasn't just about the completion of the passes. It was about the mastery of the pocket. It was understanding how to go through your progressions and find the right matchup. It was the level of toughness that he showed throughout the entire game, but it was making sure that the game wasn't wrecked by mistakes. It was making sure that George Pickens was involved from start to finish and being a big play wide receiver. And it was the timeliness of Dak Prescott. Listen, if not for a game-saving tackle by Micah Parsons, this game ends differently for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think that's all because of Dak. And this wasn't the first game this year that I thought Dak played absolutely out of his mind. From the first Thursday night against the Philadelphia Eagles, he's taken it up on himself to carry this offense, and we watched him do that last night as well. It's actually a shame, at least for the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, that this ended in a tie because he played winning football.
Yeah, Ryan, I saw folks asking, where was Micah Parsons on the stat sheet? Obviously, he had the game-saving tackle.
He was unreal.
Let me tell you, what you saw last night was that the best weapon, the best way to stop Micah Parsons isn't to double him, it's not to chip him, it's to have a quarterback play like an absolute machine. Dak Prescott on throws under 2.5 seconds went 12 for 14 for 127 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not actually that worried about the Packers defense. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw of a performance from the QB. Yes, George Pickens was too much for the cornerbacks to handle. They did get exposed a little bit. The Hobbs injury impacted them there. But to me, this was just about Dak Prescott in complete mastery of this offense. He has been unbelievable this year. And I agree with you, Ryan. I think this was one of the best games of his career, given the level of competition.
Yeah, I thought outside of the quarterbacks, Parsons was the best player on the field. Last night, I don't want to say I'm concerned about the Packers defense, but I will say the thing that shocked me was the lack of rerouting to anybody in the Dallas Cowboys wide receiver group or tight ends. I mean, one of the reasons why Dak got rid of the ball so quickly and effectively was they never put hands on anybody. It was just letting free access off the field, off the route. It was a slant route. It was a stop route. It was a comeback. I mean, there was never any – you go to the ball right before the half after the fumble, and Pickens is just running down the field. This is a curl route. There's not a single person that puts a hand on him till he's laying on the ground. And so, there were so many examples of nobody on Green Bay's defense putting any type of reroute or hand on Pickens, on Turpin, on Tolbert, like anybody. And it was shocking to see, and I think that's part of the reason why Dak threw it so quickly and threw it so well.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, but we haven't seen that from this team throughout the entire season. There's been a lot of off coverage, a lot of cornerbacks sitting and waiting and anticipating that the football will come out quickly. But we've also seen their pressure affect the quarterbacks throughout the first 3 games, and it didn't affect Dak Prescott. And even in opportunities where Dak had to hold the ball and it was a 5-step drop or it was a shotgun, we saw chips, we saw guards coming off late to help tackles. We saw Dak Prescott maneuvering the pocket. And I just thought that his game, right, and the way that he saw the football game from pre-snap to then releasing the football was as high of mastery as we've seen against the Green Bay Packers this week. And I think what we need to learn now is what's Jeff Hafley's next step. Right? They were beating people because they were better up front. Are we going to see more Edgerrin Cooper added? Are we going to see more Quay Walker? Will they bring second-level people? That's the next step.
Yeah, I completely agree. There was a play, I think, near the end of the game where they had like some sort of invert coverage with Nixon dropping, and I was watching that happen thinking, this might work against a lot of the quarterbacks y'all played. Not against Dak Prescott and George Pickens right now, the way they're playing. You have to have the capability to man up some of these guys. And I do think it's something they're going to build on and learn from. You're right. This is a defense that plays a lot of zone. They use a lot of deception on the back end. But ultimately, against certain quarterbacks in the NFL, ones who can throw it as quickly and receivers like this, you have to play a different style. I think we will see that.
Yeah, I agree with your guys' points. I just think when you're playing an offense and a quarterback like Dak Prescott that is predicated and built on timing and rhythm, you have to break that timing and rhythm. And one of the ways to do it is to try.
0-4 on the season, first overall pick. Very, very blunt assessment of how things are going. Take a listen.
I mean, we keeping the book right now. So we 0-4. We have this one. We got nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our games, and we've yet to do anything. So we have to lock in, especially myself on the offensive line, from the defensive line, from the special teams to three faces. We have to play together. We have not played together this year yet, and that's just something that we want to preach about it every day. Every day we got to do better, and we're doing that. But it has to show up on Sundays. It hasn't showed up yet, but it got to show up next week.
Oh, there are those, Field, who saw this as kind of an indictment of his head coach, Brian Callahan. How do you see these comments?
Well, I think he's got a very good eye for self-scouting, right? Because how he described the Titans is an appropriate way of doing so. A little bit of a pivot here for me, though. I think it's obvious the Titans have a ton of roster holes right now. They can't protect Cam Ward. He is also holding on to the football too long. I'll say this, though. Love the intangibles that I've seen from Cam Ward through the first 4 games. this season. He has said all the right things. He's had his teammates back when he has needed to have his teammates back. He has also held people accountable when they need to be held accountable. This is not going to be a year with a lot of wins for the Titans, but getting Cam Ward right, which the early return suggests they did, to me is the most important thing we'll find out this season.
But as a quarterback to say that, Dan, what do you think?
He's spot on. I just hope the situation doesn't ruin the young man, because he's going to be awesome. His tape is awesome. His intangibles are awesome. And I would say this, no one likes fake. He don't like fake, and he don't like fake people, because that was just real. I mean, when he's standing there going, none of us are good enough, and all we do is continue to say, well, we got to get better and do better, but we're not doing better. And so, like, that's the reality of teams that are struggling is you get we got to try to get better every day and improve, but then you go out and lay eggs on game day. And so I just hope that this moment or this situation doesn't ruin him and doesn't jade him to losing and make him numb to it, because it can to young players who struggle in the NFL team success-wise. And he's right. This team is struggling big time.
And I think when he says something like that, that's a challenge to the organization of what's going on. When your quarterback, who's just a rookie, is that outspoken about everything that he's seen in the building so far, he's letting it be known the way we're going about things, what's going on right now, it is not what it needs to be, and something needs to change. And
now they go out west for back-to-back meetings. They're at the Cardinals and they are at the Raiders. All right, coming up. The Ravens, oh my goodness, they fall to 1-3. That was really, really rough against the Chiefs. And the injury list just keeps growing. J-Mac is back. He's going to tell you whether he thinks their Super Bowl dreams are in jeopardy.
you